Hey everybody, it's Jim Prevost with Embrace the Shake. I hope everybody's doing tonight or doing well tonight. I hope you can forgive my tardiness, so to speak, to our show this evening. Um, I'm kind of changing the angle on my computer, um, so if I look like I'm tilted, just let me know and I can straighten it up. Um, What I have to talk about tonight is a change in what I learned at Duke University. But first of all, I want to say hello to everybody, all my friends, and Vicki Murray. I was over at the high school today, and I'm sorry I missed you, Eric Wilson, my dear high school friend. I know we live many hundreds of miles apart, but we did have a wonderful childhood together, and my cousins Bill Prevost and Shelley Prevost are on tonight. Um, Thank you, Molly Mutton Fudge and the Limestone crew, and Marcus Quick, uh, one of the greatest students I ever had at Gaffney High School. Just a great guy, and his dad was a wonderful principal and football coach. And then my sister Karen is on tonight, Karen Prevost Britannia. And Karen, if you would at any time, please feel free to jump in and post if you'd like on what I'm going to talk about tonight. Um, First of all, everybody's doing well at Prevost family. My sister Tracy is on tonight, and probably her husband Robbie's with her. And Paul Fleming, my fraternity brother, dear friend. Love him, just like he's like my real brother. He's my family, and um, can't say enough about how magnificent Paul and Barbara have been to us during this adventure that we've had in our home with some health issues. Um, so not to keep you at bay, but first of all, um, I put something up earlier in the week about the coronavirus and Parkinson's, and excuse me. I'd like to say for everybody, just relax and just social distancing, plenty of good personal hygiene, good solid diet. Don't be afraid to get outside, exercise in the great weather we're having, um, and enjoy life. Don't let the hype and the fear mongers scare you. Yes, this disease is moving a lot faster than a lot of folks thought initially. When you're dealing with a virus, you can't judge it like speed on a car. So just accept it for what it is, typical universal precautions, and follow the directives of the CDC and the National Institutes of Health. I want to speak out about Limestone College. I commend Dr. Daryl Parker and his cabinet and all the faculty and staffs for coming together as we always do at the Rock and making the decision that Limestone is going to adjourn face-to-face classes, on-campus classes for the remainder of the year, and that we will go into the online environment. And because of the leadership from the cabinet under Dr. Parker's tutelage and all the folks in our internet community at Limestone, the tech guys have put in endless hours to get us all on board on the online environment so our students don't miss anything and get the education that they deserve. Um, Also, I apologize, I still haven't got that under control yet. I'd like to thank our sponsors really quick. I'll just mention the business D-Hound at Magic City Canine down in Florida, and also at Applause Your Paws Rescue 22 with Angela Connor, Eric Ennis, and John Devine. As you know, Eric is a retired Army Ranger, and John is retired Navy SEAL, both with an extensive canine history. Whitebeard Canine, Lisa and Howard Young, and also like to thank the folks that follow the show and keep up and send those wonderful, nice, encouraging emails. So let's move on to the Duke visit. Uh, uh, Try to keep it as short as I can. Excuse me for a second. I got to plug my computer in. That worked. Alrighty. My family and I traveled to Duke last week. My sister Karen came down from Virginia. My son John came down from Fort Lee, which is in Virginia. And we met with a Dr. Kyle Mitchell. And Duke University couldn't have treated us any better, allowing my whole family to sit and be a part of the interview. And the evaluation was intense as far as focus. Dr. Mitchell was very kind in asking my family a lot of historical questions about my diagnosis, which was, of course, Parkinson's disease, progressive, and PIGD, which is Parkinson's initiated gait disorder. And then after Dr. Mitchell evaluated me, he did some more historical questions with my family. And then he went through the battery of neurological tests for Parkinson's and other movement disorders. And then he came down with a diagnosis, a working diagnosis with some differentials that kind of took us at bay. And what he feels, and Karen, you can please straighten me out if I don't get the verbiage right, but I'm reading what he put his notes, that I am, however, he carries a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, and I am skeptical of this diagnosis. He does not have the typical bradykinesia, which is slow movement. Gait is wide-based but not Parkinsonian. Tremor and jerking movements are irregular. And I'm sorry, I'm reading with my head down. More consistent with dystonia than a Parkinsonian tremor. Further, he has overall syndrome appears hyperkinetic, which means rapid movement. Like you probably don't see it now, but I'm twitching some. He has a mixed movement disorder with elements of both myoclonus and chorea. When he did his hyperkinetic assessment in the movement disorders evaluation, he stated initially he had brief paroxysmal synchronized movements of his bilateral leg abduction. So what my legs were doing this, coming together, consistent with myoclonus, which they do sometimes anyway. They are similarly jerking irregular movements of his upper extremities, but of lower amplitude, which means intensity, and less frequent. Later in the exam, he appeared fidgety with coriform movements of the trunk, that's like twitching and uniform stabilization, and lower extremities. With arms outstretched, he developed irregular jerking movements, right upper extremity greater than left upper extremity, with intermittent subtle dystonic flexion of several digits. And what that is as you can see, the end of my fingers are bent and they don't straighten out. And they, as you see, I flick, they don't move. So that's dystonia. So we were shocked. And for 3 years, our family and all of you out there that know me Um, we're living with a diagnosis of a confirmed diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, and now we have a working differential diagnosis of not having Parkinson's, but having a multi or mixed bag of tricks movement disorder, um, which is a blessing because the Parkinson's, even though it does not cause death, it can lead to different diseases and the inability to fight diseases um, that can eventually end in mortality, um, which was kind of hard to swallow at first. Another thing is, I was looking at from going from 23 pills a day, sometimes 21, to just one pill twice a day as a start, which is a blessing in itself. As you know from previous broadcasts, um, I have gastric issues. As you can see, I'm a little bit puffy still, but not like I was. Um, Constipation, um, upset stomach, um, just couldn't, I don't taste anyway, loss of smell, um, um, just really felt crappy all the time. And I was taking Zofran for nausea in order for me to take medications for the Parkinson's. Well, 5 days before the visit with Dr. Mitchell, I said, "That's it. I'm done. I'm not going to take any more medicine. I'm done with it. I've had enough. I want him to see me at my worst." And what I exhibited was hyperkinesis, hypertone, jerking and movements. And when he told me that he thought I had myoclonus and chorea with CH, not a K, um, I asked him I didn't respond why I did respond to the dopamine. And he said, "I don't know, and I'm not going to make a story up." And in Karen's, my sister's, does a lot of research on my behalf, and she does enjoy research. That's her psychological background. Um, she found that there was a dopamine reactive form of dystonia myoclonus, and in my further review of different materials plus what she provided, you go through the cycle of benefiting, and then you go through the cycle of getting sick, and then you go into the cycle of being re-diagnosed. In addition to this, he tested me for Huntington's disease, which we know is fatal, and Wilson's, which is debilitating and fatal. And I was negative there because I had an ANCA with Wegener's, which is a autoimmune disorder that has been long-term remissed. The next step in our adventure is to have a DAT scan of my head, and it's a two-part procedure. You go in the morning, and they provide a material through an IV that guards your thyroid here, and then you go back in 5 hours later, and then they inject an iodine radioactive type substance. I think it's iodine 123, and it'll radiate you. And what it will do, go to the portion of the brain that makes and utilizes dopamine. And if I come back from that test, like, hey, I'm making dopamine, I'm using dopamine, everything looks copacetic, then it confirms that I did not have Parkinson's, but I did have a multi faceted what he said was, I stand corrected, a mixed movement disorder with elements of myoclonus and chorea. Um, my question to myself and then later on to my family, after I pulled myself together, because I have to admit, because I try to be as transparent as possible. After the doctor I left, I broke for a minute, and I am about breaking. You don't break, but I broke, and putting myself together, and then I thought to myself, hell, I've been misdiagnosed, and at the same time, why didn't they use this damn test? I'm sorry about my language. The DAT scan. Why didn't we do that first? Why? And I had about a 2 second anger moment. Then I had to, get my stuff together because I had family there and physician. So I had sent several other healthcare people in to do some education for me, taking a lot of blood, and I just need to have my shit together, so to speak. So we went on to dinner that night, and the table was kind of silent, and we were all just trying to put everything together. And um, it was kind of hard. The conversation was labored. Nobody was upset with anybody. It's just like, I told my family I apologized. Drug them through all this garbage for 3 years, and what I had done to my mother and my sisters, and my children and their spouses and my grandchildren and my dear friends, and I felt like I had deceived them, and which I had not, and it's just the other way to look at it, is that it just goes along that a lot of the symptoms that I had, um, a lot of the symptoms that I had coalesced with Parkinson's, and that Parkinson's is such a mystery diagnostically. Often it is misdiagnosed as having, and often it's misdiagnosed as not having when you do have it. So, where am I on the scale with my physician? I'm going to say this publicly. I hold no ill bones with my neurologist here in Shelby. I think he's a magnificent guy. I've known him for an extremely long period of time. He provided the best medical care he could provide. And when he saw things changing that he could not explain, he said, "I'm going to send you to a Parkinson's Excellence Center of Excellence." And he did. And he initially sent me to Tampa Bay, Florida, and the logistics were just going to be extremely difficult. So we got transferred, and he did this for us to Duke University. And initially, there was a 6 month waiting list, but through his work, he got it moved up, and I only waited about a month. And then I saw Dr. Mitchell, Kyle Mitchell, with the intent of talking about a deep brain stimulator, and because he is an expert in that field, and also he is an expert in medicine delivery systems and alternative medications. And it was a blessing to see him. So, folks, you're kind of looking at a healing right here. And the only thing that did it was the prayers and you know who. But another thing about this process is I was talking with Daryl at boxing the other day, and we really never got to hit a bag. We just kind of I needed the dump session, and I took up everybody's time, and I apologize for that. But, I told him, for 3 years I've been a Parky, and kind of worn that with honor. And Daryl said, well, it's a movement disorder. It's a Parkinsonism. It's Parkinsonian-like. So essentially, it's the same church, just a different pew. And it takes the wisdom of somebody that's far advanced. God, I gotta go back to speech. That's farther along on the progression scale than I was. To have the great wisdom to bring that part into the conversation. So Daryl, thank you for your wisdom on that. And we're still gonna box, and we're still gonna fight this disease together. We're going to talk about all the movement disorders on these shows. We're still embrace the shake of Parkinson's, and we're not going to change what we do. We're going to advocate for our community, all of our movement disorders. And as you know, we have folks with us that also have Alzheimer's, dementia, and stroke. So, over there at Strike Fit on West Warren Street, Brian Jones and Jessica are so kind to Jessica Ricketts to help us use that facility. Of course, we're taking a break because of the coronavirus, and we'll just move forward. So I was supposed to go this Friday to Duke, but that's been postponed. And Dr. Mitchell has already contacted me twice. And Dr. Brad Gardner, my primary care physician, has contacted me as well. I'll probably hear from Dr. Klein by the end of the week. He's usually a Friday communicator kind of guy. And we're all just going to move forward as a team. And so that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. But it's been an awakening. It has also been a game changer. It's nice to eat again. I haven't had any upset stomach or constipation issues since starting this new medication, and only one medication. And I actually threw the other ones away because he told me to. He said, "You don't need them, you get rid of them." So I got rid of them. And it was kind of like a sense of freedom. At the same time, this jerking that I have, I told my family, is if this is the level that I have to live at and walk like I do, and the end of my fingers don't move anymore, you know what? That's just the way it is, and you know what? I'll take that any day of the week. And I'm happy to report that I'm probably still riding some placebo effect, but it's been now 4 nights in a row that I have slept all the way through the night, and in fact slept to 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, which is just unreal. I don't like sleeping late like that, but it was not beyond my control. I mean, it was beyond my control. I couldn't control that. So I appreciate that. But I do thank Dr. Klein, my neurologist in Shelby, for taking care of me for 3 years, and he will continue to be involved in my care. I appreciate his foresight and his ability to say, something's just not right, and I'm going to send you to the best. And he did. He's done that twice in my family. And it is amazing that we have that capability in the United States. Because right now, and I'm not going political, but because of this going on in America, you see what our country is doing with the antivirals. and at the same time, you're going to grocery stores. You're getting your first look at socialism. Okay, hope you like it. It's a lesson learned by all of us. I think we're getting put to the test to see what we're made of. I know what the Prevost family is made of, and I know what my friends are made of. So here's the course. To digress a bit. Hey, Angela, it's good to see you. Thank you for everything. I appreciate your support the other night when I talked with you on the phone. You've saved my life twice, and I can never repay you. Um, uh, I tell you, it was really. I'm going to share this. Moose was given to me by Rescue 22 and Angela Connors on tonight, and Dee down in Florida, and through the graciousness of Eric and John, and Howard Young did all that for me. I think I already told him, Karen, but anyway, I'll go over that again. And they gave me Moose, and Moose has been wonderful for all of us here. He did a great job of ambassadorship at Limestone, and everybody in the neighborhood loves him. He's a cotton picking YouTube celebrity, and anyway, I called Angela. I went to Howard, and I thought, because he was a parky dog, that I was gonna possibly have to give him up, and that I because I follow the rules and the law. I asked Howard, is that the case? And he said no. Still have movement disorder. So then I called North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, where our dogs can be credentialed through, and check with them, and they said, yeah, no problem. And then I called Angela on the phone and talked to her about it, and I'm sure she got a little giggle but held back, but was very kind and reinforced the fact that I still have a movement disorder, and that's what Moose does the most for me, is help me be stable when I move. I still will need help with him helping me up and down off the floors, and when we sit down and play together at night when I'm down with my grandkids, and when I get stuck in chairs, because I'll still have episodes of that, and when I get stiff when I walk and freeze up a little bit. So he's still going to be a busy guy. So I'm going to be taking this medication. Right now I'm on half a pill in the morning, and then half a pill at night. Here's my brother, Craig Kohlberg, served in the Army. Craig's parky buddy of mine, and we're trying to get him a dog, and he fosters dogs right now. Mary Zeppenfeld Norris, we went to high school together. Mary's just absolutely just beautiful, a lady, not only physically but just inside and out. We dated a little bit and ready for this, junior high school, and then used to go to the officers club together back in the day. Mary's and her sisters are just wonderful people, and I just loved her dad and mom to death. They were great people. But anyway, Mary actually knows somebody I went to college with, Jane Hammett, Bright, that breeds dogs, and Jane was on Survivor. So we are in a big world, but in a small world as well. So let me get back to close out, because I'm starting to drift, and I apologize. I take this one pill for half a day, half in the morning rather, and then half at night, and I do that for a week. And then I will go to one in the morning and one at night, starting that, and move that until I return to the doctor, or at least till the 30th of April. And then if I need a change, they'll adjust me to a new change if these jerks and stuff don't go away to where he wants it. Like, the reason I jerk so much, or jerk some, is because my my dopamine level is not artificially enhanced, And Craig says they just want the money. And the dopamine level's not jacked up, so I have no artificial dopamine. So that's what shows why I jerk so. But anyway, like Karen says, we were in shock, and it was just I still can't believe it. Be one way for a while, and then you're another way, and there was nothing wrong with being diagnosed initially with Parkinson's. And the thing is this, the dopamine DAT scan has not been completed. We have a working diagnosis of myoclonus, chorea, and dystonia. And after they do the DAT, then we'll have a definitive, and then we'll go from there. But I'm going to say openly that if they do diagnose me, with the final diagnosis of myoclonus and chorea, sometimes they want to know where it's coming from, and they want to do extensive testing there. I'm not going to do that. I'm done. I'll fight the disease at this level. I'll take the medication at this level, but I am tired of being tested and guinea pigged, and my mind may change. As our politicians say, I've evolved, but at this juncture right now, because I must say that I feel the best I have felt in 3 years, and I'm apprehensive about doing anything much more diagnostically that could possibly, which I don't think it really can, but could be an additional setback, and I don't want to go there. So if you have any questions, throw them on. I'll be on for a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to call it a night and just sit down and get some rest. I want to thank everybody for being on with me tonight. It means a lot. I could have not done this, and still can't do this without all of you. Marianne sends her regards as well, because she knows that the prayers that you send to our family, we all benefit from it. And the support that my sisters, Karen and Tracy, and their husbands, Ernie and Robbie, and my nephews, and my mother, Shirley, also known as Gima, and all my friends, and former athletes and former players and wrestlers. This is just an amazing event. And my cousins, and it's just I'm still shocked. And as Daryl said, I'm a Parky of a different pew. I have Parkinsonism, and I will continue with my friends. We will continue to box. We will continue to do our bands and our poles and our close kinetic chain exercises. We will continue to meet, and we will do these interviews. And if any of you would like to be interviewed on the show, please let me know. I'll be happy to come to you, or we'll figure out how to do remote. I'm going to ask Molly Mutton Fudge. I know your real name, but I'll go by that. Have you heard anything about going down to Miami? You and Maddie to get Biggie. Is there any news? I'll hang on for a couple minutes. Hey, Marty. Tom, good to, Tom Caton, incredible citizen soldier, incredible. Also served active duty, protected it, kept the American dream alive on the other side of the Berlin Wall. And not too many of those guys around. But Tom, thank you for that. Sadie, do you know when Maddie's going down? Okay, Molly, here we go. Okay, so they're still waiting to hear from Angela and Dee. Okay, very good. So Maddie's going to be going down to Florida or whatever the arrangements are to get Biggie. I saw Biggie day before yesterday. He was over at Dee's house, and Dee was on live. And I saw Biggie. He looks great. Hey, Troop, Jimmy Sherman, 10th Mountain. Longtime friend, over 20 years. God bless you, brother. All righty, I'm going to call it a night. I've rambled nonstop. I'm going to continue with the exercise program, continue with the LSVT voice therapy on my own. I'm going to continue with the big movements from the Lee Silverman program, and we're just going to continue to fight. My folks at Limestone, as things calm down, gets a little bit safer out there because I am in a marginal population. We will break bread together, and I'll bring the Moose Man with me, and we'll just have us a good time. Love y'all. Remember EMS, fire, law enforcement. Let's don't forget. Let's keep our healthcare workers, all of them, that are in the hospitals and in doctors' offices and clinics, helping fight this disease. Don't forget our grocery stores, our mercantile folks. Please frequent their stores. I don't mean to run the virus up, but please buy stuff, get what you need. Let's fight this thing together, keep the economy rolling, and thank them because they work tireless hours and a lot of times get yelled at because there's not an item in the store. They aren't there to stock it, they're there to service us. So you guys take care, be safe, God bless, and always remember, embrace the shake.